Okay, this is a OM 617 engine, diesel. What we're going to be removing, well, not necessarily removing, but blocking, I guess is the right term. So what you're looking at right here is the EGR valve. So down here it comes out of the exhaust manifold and is connected and goes up to a vacuum operated valve. Now you can buy kits on the internet that sell delete kits. They're $20 to $30, somewhere in that range. And basically you take off this here, and there's either a cap that utilizes this clamp, or the best of the best is they give you a cap that you need to weld onto that. And then there's a plate that's the same pattern as this, with two bolts that you bolt in. Now, I've heard from sources on the internet and all sorts of other places that the cap that you sell, that you buy, that just clamps on there, is probably more likely going to leak just the way it fits. And I really don't want to take the manifold off, so I don't really want to get down there and weld one on. So what am I going to do? Well, we're going to keep it simple. So we'll disconnect the air vacuum to it, and we'll plug this. But what I'm going to do is loosen these two bolts and bring this thing up, and basically do a template of it, and make a plate and bolt everything back together. So it will still be there, but we'll be blocking it off right here. So I don't see any issues with that. I mean, as it sits currently, if it's functioning, there's always hot gases up in here from exhaust, and when it's open, it's sucking. If it's not, it's not. So by just blocking it off, I don't see an issue there. Alright, well, let's get this thing uninstalled here. Loosened on that. So, alright. Now that you can see that's loose, you can kind of move it back a little bit. A little bit more back. And let me get the camera so you can see up close here. Alright, so I moved that back a little bit. You can see, oh, there's quite a bit of buildup in there, which is really no surprise. Alright, since we went in and cleaned this up, there was some soot in here, and I took the vacuum and cleaned it all up. Now, a little plate. How I made it was, I took this off the EGR, and I took some oil, and I just smeared it all around. And what I did was, I took a piece of cardboard. I took a piece of cardboard like this, and I flipped it over with this oily surface here, and I pressed on it firmly, all in, you know, as best as I could. Then I cut it out with some scissors. And I got me a piece of steel, and I'm using a thin piece of steel right here, and traced down the steel, can't say it. And there you go. Now note, this steel is thin. The kits that you're going to buy is going to be about 2 or 3 times thicker than this, and that's okay. That's great. I can get away with thinner steel because since I'm using the existing, so I'm going to pretend that's on there, and I'm going to use this to hold it down. So there'll be there'll be constant force all the way around it. If it was just that and 2 bolts, then over time, and I don't think it would be a problem because it is the intake, you might have warpage or something like that due to the heat. But in this case, it's thin. We're going to bolt this back down in place, and it'll just be a blockage. It won't allow the exhaust gases in, and but it will still, it'll be there, but won't work. So, okay, so our EGR has been in place, and we've run the engine, and well, it works great. Can't really tell anything, but we know there's a blockage in there because we covered it up. So one thing that I did not show is on this side of the EGR, this is where the hot exhausts come up. We sealed it off on the top of that plate, and what we used was, there's lots of different ones. This is what I had gasket cement and stove sealer, good up for 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. There is gasket maker that goes up that high too. That's on this side, so we don't get any exhaust leaks in there. And then on the other side is the original seal, that was on the EGR to the intake. So it's sealed off good. It doesn't leak. We have our vacuum lines hooked up. One other note, and I found out this the hard way, is I thought, and I might have this wrong, and might not exactly have this right yet either. I thought I could unhook this and plug it, but when I did that, I was having lots of issues with the cruise control not working, which I don't know if it's tied to it, and the anti-lock brakes, the warning light was on. I plugged the vacuum stuff back in and it went away. I don't know if it's related. I think it is. Not 100% sure how, but that'll be another video of replacing some of these rubber vacuum lines because they're in rough shape. So anyway, EGR is blocked. Didn't buy the kit. Long term, the plan is probably to buy the kit because I really don't need that there. Hey, it's all about weight savings, okay? Anyway, that's the end of that. That's overall, it probably took about an hour. The most time was spent cutting the metal out, really, and shaping it so there was no burrs on it. But other than that, it's done and it looks good.